I'm a bit of a gadget guy and a hobby guy, and so I had plans to do a whole bunch of cool time-lapse videos after work today. Last night I missed a great opportunity. There was these long shadows and brilliant orange-colored sunset, and I thought, okay, well, the weather looks good tomorrow. I'm going to capitalize on that and set up my time-lapse equipment. It's starting to rain, so make a YouTube video instead. I find it interesting to watch things unfold sometimes. So, and especially if you're not aware of it at first, and then all of a sudden you start to notice little cues and clues that start to make you aware that something else is going on, and then you start to realize that something's taking place right before your eyes. So, I'd been on YouTube for a while before I made my first real content, and it was about 20 some odd videos in, I got a comment on one of my uploads from the Wingnut. And he said, wow, you've dedicated your whole channel to the presuppositional argument. And I responded and I said, well, not exactly. There will be other topics. I've just begun. Cheers. And he came back and he said, I count one of 22 videos that don't have presup in the title. May I presuppose that that video that isn't labeled as such is also about the presup argument? And I responded and I said, no, you may not. And it's interesting too, of course, because at that time I had, 22 videos, I guess, at the time. The first couple videos were about star trails. There was a video in there about relationship valuation. But more importantly, he said, I see you've dedicated your whole channel to the presup argument. And I was telling him, no, I haven't. There's going to be other topics. As you'll have seen now, with the number of videos I have, there are more videos, other topics. And that's really about intent, right? When someone says you've dedicated, you're talking about intent. And I was telling him, no, my intent is not that. And that should be good enough. But I didn't think too much of it at the time. And then I noticed something interesting. I'd go onto somebody else's YouTube channel, watch another video, maybe Vertical Cadence, maybe The Realistic Nihilist, who knows. And I would see the same thing. There's the Wingnut again. Ah, you've dedicated your whole channel to the presup argument. Well, what could be going on here? And then I saw Cy's debate on the Bible Thumping Wingnut show with Vertical Cadence, and it all became very, very clear. So after Vertical Cadence and the Nihilist had left, and the Wingnut and Cy are just talking, they start talking about how at one time on YouTube there were no videos on the presuppositional apologetic, and now by the grace of God there are all these videos. And then, light bulb moment, I realized they're manufacturing this, right? Now, of course, not that they're manufacturing that there are videos about the presuppositional apologetic. Most of them are theirs. But they're actively trying to manufacture, oh, look at all these atheists, they're so enthralled, they're so focused on the presuppositional apologetic. And it's sort of like revisionist history, but we're in the making of it right now. And so I find that interesting, when it's real, you don't have to do that, right? And it would be realistic enough to say, wow, there's just a lot of videos. There's a lot of people objecting to the presuppositional apologetic, and there are a lot of people, positing the presuppositional apologetic. But it's not realistic to run around and start labeling all these channels. I'm sure maybe the Wingnut's got a count somewhere, I don't know, of how many channels are dedicated to the presuppositional apologetic. So I'll leave it at this. As I've said before, my channel is going to be about many other things. When I've run out of material on the presup argument, I plan to branch out into some other things. I hinted in my last video about naturalistic basis for objective morality, which is something I don't hear posited a lot, and I might like to get into that, and might like to get into some more automotive mechanic type stuff, and maybe even some how-to videos, some time-lapse videos, who knows. But this channel, alert, this channel is not dedicated to the presuppositional apologetic. I just like to make a few videos about it. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Hi again. This doesn't really deserve its own video, and I hadn't uploaded this the main video yet, so I thought I'd just tag this at the end. Something that bothers me a little bit, and I've noticed, I thought I would address today. I did notice on one of my uploads a little bit of a theist-atheist discussion between Edward Trillian and Paulus Joshua. And I wanted to comment on it real quick, not really on their conversation per se, but a common thread in these theistic discussions. And that is something Paulus Joshua says here. We can demonstrate that certain irrefutable realities of existence cannot be accounted for in the atheistic naturalistic worldview, such as metaphysical realities, invariant universal immaterial laws of logic, mind consciousness, truth, knowledge, etc. And this falls under the category for me of sort of one of those arguments that's been refuted, it's been dealt with, asked and answered, and people keep making it. And it's frustrating when something's been asked and answered, and people keep using it as though it's some sort of slam dunk case. So the first one, actually, I would say requires a definition. Metaphysical realities starts to get into hoo-hoo land for me. It's sort of like all these people who run around declaring that there's some sort of spiritual battle going on when they haven't even demonstrated there's any such thing as a spiritual realm. It's kind of a key. If you're going to have a battle in a realm, the realm might need to exist. And they haven't demonstrated that, and yet they talk about it as so factually. And so I'd like to see the metaphysical realities defined, but the invariant universal immaterial laws of logic, to say we can't account for them, well, sure we can. They're products of a mind, and actually they are not invariant. Because the laws of logic are just concepts, right? They're sentences on a page. They can be varied. What they refer to is invariant, but we can certainly account for them. They're the product of thoughtful beings and transcribing what they witness in our natural world. So, there's no mystery there. When it comes to consciousness, truth is that which corresponds to reality, and I'm not interested in getting into any ridiculous arguments about which reality is the correct reality. You can show me a definition of the wrong reality. We'll start from there if you want to go down that road. And knowledge, these things are easily demonstratable. When you start as an infant and you don't really know anything, and of course as you grow, you gain knowledge through learning, through sense data, reasoning skills, knowledge passed on from other people. This is also a microcosm of what's happened to us as a species. We didn't start out as computer programmers, look at where we are today, et cetera, et cetera. But more importantly, actually, that's all immaterial in a way, because even if I can't account for those things, it doesn't mean you automatically get to inject your accounting for them without evidence. That's the most important part. So we can go back to the time when people accounted for things like thunderstorms and volcanic activity by imposing deities, Pele and Thor and all of these gods that they had to account for natural things, natural processes that they couldn't understand. Now, if someone were to come along during those times and say, hey, your proposed solution to this issue bears no evidence. I don't see anybody up there doing these things. You talk about this God, and you even say, this God was angered, so we'll do these certain things to appease the God, and then the volcano still blows its top anyway. There's nothing here that corresponds to reality. It wouldn't be reasonable for someone to say, oh yeah, well, you can't account for it either, so therefore, we're correct, right? I mean, it just doesn't work that way. So even if we couldn't account for it, and this is an important distinction, because Aaron Ra and many other atheists have gotten caught up in this walking down a hypothetical path of saying, well, even if, and then suddenly people say, oh, you made this statement. No, even if we're saying we're able to go down a hypothetical path. I know that's difficult for some theists to understand, but we can go down the hypothetical even if. So I'm not saying we can't account for these things. I think we can, but even if we couldn't, it doesn't matter, because you don't just get to inject anything you'd like without some sort of evidence to back it up. Thanks everyone for watching. Have a good day.